Tavallinen hiljainen katu, tavallinen esikaupunkitalo. Mutta sisällä Cromwell Street 25 mikään ei ollutkaan tavallista. Isä ja äiti kaappasivat nuoria tyttöjä ja raiskasivat heidät. He kiduttivat uhrejaan ja pitivät näitä hengissä useita päiviä ennen tappamista. Äiti oli myös ilotyttö, joka otti täällä vastaan asiakkaitaan ja jossain välissä juoksentelivat perheen lapset. Pariskunnan jäljiltä on tähän mennessä löydetty 12 ruumista. Yksi uhreista oli Frederickin ja Rosemarin oma tytär. Uhrien joukossa oli myös Frederickin 8. kuukaudella raskaana ollut tyttöystävä. Kaikki tähän mennessä löytyneet uhrit olivat 15-22-vuotiaita nuoria naisia. Frederick teki itsemurhan vuosi sitten uuden vuoden aattona vankisellissään vieden karmivat salaisuudet mennessään. Rosemary tuomittiin viime syksynä elinkautiseen vankeuteen 10 tytön murhasta. Frederick Rosemary-Westillä oli tapana poimia uhreja autolla klosterin lähistöltä, usein liftarityttöjä, jotka eivät osanneet epäillä mitään, kun autossa oli mukana nainen. Tytöt vietiin Cromwell Streetille. Osa tytöistä asui talossa useita päiviä ennen kuin mitään alkoi tapahtua. Sekä äiti että isä raiskasivat uhreja. Useimmat haudattiin talon kellariin. Osalle oli kierrottu teippiä koko pään ympärille, sieraimiin oli pistetty putket, jotta uhrit eivät tukehtuisi. Ilmeisesti Frederick kutsui myös ystäviään kylään väkivaltaorgioihin. Ennen kuolemaansa Frederick tunnusti myös 25 muuta murhaa, eli ruumiita saattaa löytyä vielä lisää. Eräät todistajat kertoivat myös rituaalisista menoista, joissa saatettiin tappaa useita tyttöjä. Näiden sormenpäät leikattiin irti ja poltettiin osana kauheita seremonioita. Vaikka 2 murhaajaa onkin saatu vastuuseen teoistaan, saattaa olla, että osa jatkaa edelleen toimintaansa.
The house was derelict when Mum and Dad moved in. I was 15 months old, I think. And so it was done up slowly over the years. The roof of the main house he pinched, didn't he?
Yeah, from a building site, he pinched all the tiles, which he just...
We helped him a lot, didn't we? We held screwdrivers. And
he would never, ever buy anything.
We'd go with him at night. You know, he'd know what he needed.
He'd take all the kids with him.
Take us with him in the van, and we'd help him steal it from sites, bricks and tiles and cement.
We had no toys as we understand toys today.
The little toys we did have, Uncle John bought. He was a dustman, and he used to find them in the tips. You know, they were in quite good nick. They both have a very open opinion about sex. It's that if you don't like it, then you don't stay at home like it. You know, if we say, Mum, can't you put some clothes on or something, it's like, this is my home, I do what I like in it.
You know, our young life was all about the sex and things that went around us. It was just important for us not to get caught up in it.
We would have rather have had normal parents who said, you know, you're not seeing boys or you're not bringing them back home. But it was very encouraged, you know, at any age. It wasn't an age with Mum or Dad, or especially Dad. I didn't have a boyfriend till I was 16 anyway. And we never used to want to bring them home because we knew what Mum and Dad was like, and we knew it was embarrassing. But I'd been seeing my boyfriend for about a few weeks before I got enough nerve to say, come back and meet my Mum and Dad. And it was only days that he had met them, and they really liked him. And Dad said, have you slept with her yet? To him. And he was really put on the spot and embarrassed about it. And like, Dad had already started saying, stay over, you know, you stay in her bedroom.
But we would have preferred Mum and Dad to have kept their own sexual life and, you know, whatever they did, more to themselves. The first time I brought my first girlfriend home, Mum stood and talked to her for about half an hour, naked. The few times when we had our friends around, if she didn't sort of stand there naked, then she would sit down on the carpet or sit on the sofa, always with her legs apart, and she would never wear underwear.
Because sex was so easy with them and open, it changed us, what did me. I wouldn't undress myself without the light off, and like Dad used to get me to sit by him on the couch and then put on blue movies, I used to be really embarrassed about it. I used to keep saying, Dad, do you want a cup of tea, just so I wouldn't have to watch it with him. Then it was just sex.
Every time Dad came home from work, he'd always go straight into the kitchen where Mum usually was and just put his hand up her skirt and just in front of us, and it was like embarrassing. We'd look away. He would just sort of all the time just...
When I was about 13, I was doing my mock exams. Mum started to advertise for clients rather than just sleep with Dad's friends. I saw the advert, they put an advert together for a sex magazine. It was in there with our phone number on. And she started to get a few regulars. She thought, well, if I've got to do this, I may as well do it for money. There was men coming in and out of the house all the time. My room was at the foot of the stairs where they used to go up. So there's times I'd been in my room and I've walked out and she's been with someone and she's pushed me back in the room and slammed the door so that I don't sort of see them. And this occasion this happened, the man turned around and said, is that one available? Dad had the opinion that he had daughters for himself, that all fathers broke their daughters in. He said all families did it, all fathers broke their daughters in because if we had boyfriends wouldn't be able to do it properly like a father would. He used to say that the firstborn child to a daughter should be the father's. From about the age of 11, 12, once we started developing, he used to touch us up all the time and touch our breasts and say that we're growing up, and it used to be all the time after school, and if you pushed him away he'd get angry or he'd say we're lesbians and that we don't like men. Me and my sister, because we're only 18 months apart, he used to sort of concentrate on both of us. We would talk about it at night and say that we'd look out for each other, and we weren't allowed to have locks on any of the bathroom doors, so if we were showering, he used to put his hands through the shower curtain. So we used to stand guard for each other and whistle if he came, so that we'd just pretend we finished showering and quickly put a towel on. And when we went to bed, he used to say, come and tuck us in, give us enough time to get undressed and then rush in, pretending he's just sort of coming in and catch us sort of naked. But we used to wait till he went to bed and then undress under the bedclothes. Dad didn't like us pushing him away, and if we did, he used to get quite violent, and he had a look that was really scary. He thought he was really in trouble the way he looked at us. And this one time I pushed him away and ran into my room and shut the door, but he kicked the door in. And I had been hoovering that day, and the hoover was still in my room, and he picked it up and threw it at me and said that I was his daughter and he was allowed to touch me whenever he wanted. Dad started messing about with me on the floor, but he used to it'd be like he was tickling me but touching me as well. And I got scared and started shouting to my mum, and she just said, looked down at me and said, don't be stupid, your dad's just playing with you.
Back in '92, Dad was arrested for rape on a minor.
They wanted to talk to all of us, and they asked us about Heather. They interviewed Mum and Dad regarding Heather, and they started to put searches out on Interpol and medical records just to see if she registered anywhere.
And Mum was also charged with 5 offences and released on bail and released home. My younger brother and 4 sisters were taken into care, then Dad was released from bail and taken to a hostel in Birmingham, where he had to stay until the court case came up. I went to see him, and on the one occasion, he was crying, very upset, and he started saying that he had been covering up stuff from all of us. He said that his life began when we went to sleep at night, and that he wanted us to look after Mum and the rest of the children. I asked him what he meant, and he didn't elaborate. He just said that.
As part of the police investigation in '92, they searched Cromwell Street, and they searched it really thoroughly. And the chap, when me and Stephen sat in while they searched the property, and he said they do it as thorough as looking for a body, which we thought was quite a strange thing to say. And then they went outside in the where the patio was and started walking on each one looking for slabs that were loose. And with that and Dad saying about this crime he'd done, we started to think perhaps Heather's leaving home wasn't as he said it was. So at nights we used to talk about it and say, you know, perhaps Dad's killed her, or, you know, perhaps they think she's under the patio, the police. We were suspicious of Mum and Dad, and at that time the other children, the older ones, were coming back to visit. And when they visit, me and Stephen said to them, you know, we think that the police think Heather's under the patio. And they obviously went back and told their care workers who was looking after them. And then them care workers told social services, and social services informed the police.
Police started digging the next day, and there was all press outside the front of the house, and the police carried on digging. I returned home to find my girlfriend there. She told me I had to go upstairs because Mum was up there. Mum was up there on the sofa crying her eyes out. Then the police turned up and arrested Mum about an hour later and charged her with the murder of Heather. Later on that evening, the phone rang and it was the police, and they asked us to go down to the police station. My dad's solicitor was in the room and he told us to go and sit down, and then he told us that Dad had admitted to killing Heather, and that at that time we were there, he was in the garden of Cromwell Street pointing out where she was. And we just couldn't believe it. I just felt like someone had hit me with a hammer, and I just sort of slid down the wall and sat on the floor and cried. I just couldn't believe that he could have even said it.
I don't think either of us had believed it, even though he'd said that he admitted to it. But I don't know, I just went quiet, and I wasn't crying, but it was just shock, I think.
I couldn't believe Dad had sort of admitted it. I couldn't believe Dad had did it. I hated him. I hated what he did. I didn't want to see him. And it lasted for a while, and then I was missing him, and I wanted just to speak to him and for him to tell me himself that he did it. I couldn't accept it with other people telling me. I wanted to hear him say it to me. Dad told me when he was in prison that when he killed Heather, that he put her in a dustbin under the stairs, and that he asked me if I could remember digging a hole in the garden behind this fence that we had. And I said, I remember it. And he said, yeah, that's where I put Heather. I was gutted. I just couldn't believe that he could have asked me to do it knowing what he was going to do.
I was just really shocked when they told me about Heather. Just a lot of it just didn't sink in. It was just too unbelievable. But I I was shocked because it could have easily been me. And I started to hate Dad from then.
They had found other women by this time. I've no memories of any of the victims that were found at all. We were too young.
We knew we had tenants in the house, but we don't remember any faces or...
I asked the police, could I see him? Most probably one of the hardest things I ever did to face him. He was just crying. He was very, very down. I'd never seen him like that before, and to see him cry was hard to sort of accept. He told me he was sorry for what he did, because he won't be returning home anymore. But he was just crying and just holding me all the time, and he wouldn't let go of my hands. He told me that he would never tell anybody the whole truth, that it was worse than I could imagine, and that he had no intention of telling everybody everything, just only what they needed to know. He said he couldn't stop what he was doing. He told me that after he had killed one of these women, he went to the Gloucester police station and sat on the steps, wanting to give himself in so they could help him to stop him doing it. And he said he thought of us children, and he said he couldn't do it because he wanted to be home for us and he couldn't bear to be away from us. He changed from visit to visit. 1 minute he did it on his own, next minute he did it with Mum, next minute Mum did it on her own. He told me that he tortured them in the basement of our house. He told me he took some of them away to a farmhouse and abused them and cut them up there and brought them back in dustbins in the van and then buried them in the house. He said that he raped all of them and that he kept some alive because he just wanted to be with them. He said he only did it when they tried to leave him. He said he didn't want nobody to leave him and he wanted them to stay with him. Dad said he only told police what they needed to know. He said he told them about the ones in Cromwell Street because they'd always find them. So to release the pressure off him from questions, he told them where they were. He promised me he would die with them never knowing the full extent of what he did. I said to him, people believe that you didn't stop. The 7-year gap between the last one and Heather, people believe you didn't stop, that you couldn't stop. And he said, I didn't. He said that we would never believe the extent of what he did.
Well, I think he was terrified of being killed inside. He kept saying that, like, people were trying to kill him in there. And I just don't think he was hard enough for prison. And I wouldn't have took the pressure, so he obviously decided to kill himself. I refused to see Dad in prison. I thought that I'll wait till after the trial and when he gets life I'll visit him just the once. But after I found out he killed himself, I felt a bit guilty that I didn't, because I didn't reply to any of his letters and I wouldn't speak to him.
I hated what he did. I would never forgive him for what he did. But at the same time, he was my dad and someone I respected, and I miss him. And no matter what we went through as kids, and no matter what he did, I always respected him and loved him. And life is hard without him. But I just wish he hadn't done what he'd done. I find it hard to talk to Mum, especially talking about Dad, as she talks so little of him and puts him down and slugs him off, and it's hard for me to accept that.
Well, I think a lot of my mum. My childhood, I just say, is the past now. And I don't want to ever visit a prison again if I can help it, because I'm fed up of going into prisons and that now. And we'll have to come to terms with the fact that she will be in prison for the rest of her life. We basically have to think of her as dead, because she won't accept any of our visits. So I suppose it's over either way.
Sometimes I sit down and I can't see why I can carry on, or I need to carry on. It's my head's spinning round and round, and I just sort of, everything has happened so quick that we haven't had time to accept what's happened, to come to terms with what happened, and I don't think that I will ever come to terms with what's happened. It's so unbelievable that you're trying to make sense of it every day.
Our main aim throughout all of this was to keep the family together. And I think the saddest thing is that it's all split apart now anyway. We've had to come to terms with losing a lot of people in the last year.
It seems sad to me that after all we put up with to keep the family together, we got split up anyway, and it all seemed to be a waste of time.
Dad's died. Mum's still in jail and we don't know if she's coming out. Our brothers and sisters are now so far away and we haven't seen them for so long that we don't think we can bridge the gap with them anymore anyway. And it's basically just left me and Stephen now. And that comes down from a family of 10.